Okay, guys. So probably gonna chill here for a few more minutes before we start. I see somebody's in chat. I'm curious, did you have any issues connecting to the YouTube channel? Let's see. Okay, great. Like I said, let's just take a few minutes and wait. I know everybody's still kind of getting used to this format, and I'm sure some people will be connecting here shortly. So um, we're gonna wait just a few more minutes, guys. Why do you have to use your phone? You don't have to use your phone, Anderson. If you've got a laptop, you can use your laptop. You can use a desktop, computer, whatever gives you access to YouTube. You don't have to use your phone. I just need you to have access to YouTube. Yeah, you'll definitely remember some of this. Um, it's just guys, it's just like being in a classroom, except you get to chill out in your pajamas instead. uh, while I'm on the subject of online learning, were you guys able to access Google Classrooms? It says I need a suitable G Suite. Oh, you can't use the school's Chromebook. Oh, so through the Chromebook you can't get on YouTube Live. Oh yeah, that's a problem. Um, didn't realize that was an issue. Okay, well maybe we need to kind of circle around again and figure out how to make that work for you guys. So, are all of you are all of you connecting through your phone, or are you using something other than the Chromebooks? Okay. Okay. So let me ask you this: are you trying to use your personal Gmail, or have you tried using the school's email? Because I know that all of you have a school designated email. Okay. Yeah, that's an issue. Okay. Well, we may have to rethink how we're doing this then. Okay. Did you guys try to log in through your school email, or were you using your personal? Oh, okay, I didn't know that. By the way, guys, there's a little bit of a delay, so if I'm not answering your questions right away, it's because of that. So you can't access YouTube Live, or you can't access YouTube at all through the school email. Hmm. Okay. You can access YouTube, but just not log in. Okay. So through the school computer, and I need to log in to access live. Ah, so that's the problem. Okay, let me make a quick note real quick. Okay. So let's see. Okay, guys. So what we'll probably do then is we'll just work with it today. Um, I'm sorry that you guys are having to use your phone. That's a short-sighted issue on my end. So I'm really sorry. I don't have access to the Chromebook, so I had no idea that that was going to be a problem. So what we'll do today is, if you'll just bear with me, um, prop your phone up against the pillow or on a table or wherever you're at. Um, that way you can get the lecture today, and then by next week, um, I'll have another platform that we can use. Okay, because obviously this isn't going to work if you guys are going to have to use your phones. Okay. Yeah, yeah, that Isabella, that's a great point. You could use YouTube on your phone and then Google Class on the Chromebook, but obviously that's a little bit of an inconvenience for you guys. I'll try to see if I can find another platform that'll make everything easier, and we can just use your Google Chromebook instead of having to flip through both of those. So today, today what we'll do is we'll just do the lesson um, through your phone, and then you can do the work through Google Chromebook, and then by Monday, I'll figure something out, and I'll message you guys through Edmodo, and we'll figure out an easier way to do this. Okay. So I was gonna go over a couple of rules. You guys are doing awesome. I appreciate you guys showing up this morning. I'm sure some of you would have preferred to get a few more hours of sleep, but in order for you to make sure that you're getting the education, the proper education you need, you logged in today. So woohoo! Pat yourself on the back, guys. So a couple of rules. Let's just stay on topic, guys. No offensive language, please. No flooding the chat room. And then I'll just be taking your questions throughout the lecture. So I'll pay attention if you guys are posting questions on things we're going through. Um, and that's really it, guys. You guys have done awesome so far. So no gripes or complaints. So does everybody have their Google Documents pulled up? Did anybody have issues getting into Google Classroom or accessing the work for today? just before we start. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with the do now. Uh, I know we haven't been in school for about a week now. So, first question says, what was the outcome of the Watergate scandal? If you remember, the Watergate scandal happened during the Nixon administration. Basically, Nixon and his workers break into his opponent's headquarters. They try to steal some documents. They get caught. And then actually what happens is Nixon resigns from office. So he's about to be impeached. And basically leaders of Congress come up to him and say, hey, dude, listen, if we impeach you, you're going to be found guilty and you're going to be charged with these crimes. So he eventually resigns from office. What was détente and what policy did it go against? So we talked about détente after Vietnam. Remember, part of détente was Nixon pulling out of Vietnam, and then specifically it was his goal to improve relations with the Soviet Union, right? So he visited China, right? And then improved relations with the Soviet Union through the SALT Treaty, right? Soviets didn't want to be salty about him visiting China, so they reached an agreement. So what was peace through strength? Oops, I'm running out of room here. Let's move this box. There we go. What was peace through strength and who was responsible for it? Peace through strength was Reagan, right? And military force, basically he said military force or a large military will keep peace. And I am gonna change the size on this. There we go. So you should be able to see that. Are you guys having any issues viewing the slides? Is it too small? Do I need to figure out how to expand it? Yeah. Okay, I've got to get my live chat working here, guys. 1 second. Pop out. There we go. Now I can see you guys chatting. Okay, cool. If you're having trouble viewing it, let me know, and I'll zoom in for you. Okay. Nope. Okay. Okay, so guys, we're gonna move on to Carter. We covered Nixon, I think, during our last class session, and so today we're gonna talk about President Carter. Basically, Carter rolls into office once Nixon is removed, and unfortunately, his presidency is marked, and people remember it because the economy was so bad during his presidency. So we're looking at this map right here. So this is just a picture of where the world's oil reserves are. Does anybody know where the most oil can be found in the world? Or I guess I should say, which area is most known for having oil? I'll give you guys a second to think about that. So when we go to the gas station and we put oil into our cars, where does that oil come from? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Saudi Arabia is a huge exporter of oil. So if you look on the graph here or the map, the Middle East is in red. So a lot of the world's oil comes from the Middle East. Um, Also, Anderson, you're right. Venezuela is one of the highest exporting countries for crude oil in the world. So when people think of oil, they usually think of the Middle East, but you're right. Venezuela is one of the highest exporters. So one of the there's a couple of things going on around the world at this point, especially in the Middle East. During the 1970s, there was a revolution in Iran. The United States had a good, solid relationship with Iran. Iran had a dictator at that point, and he was overthrown by a religious leader named Ayatollah Khomeini. This guy, basically, whenever he took over the country, he kicked out all the Americans. He took over the American embassy, and um, and then from that point on, our relationship with Iran has been pretty bad. Uh, so that happens in Iran, right? If we're talking about the Middle East, this area right here, if you look at this map, this is a breakdown of the different religions within this part of the world. Europe, which is in the red here, is majority Christian. If you go further east into Europe, a lot of it's Eastern Orthodox, which is basically like Catholicism. There's some small differences, but they share a strong link in their faith. And then down here in the orange, this is Muslim majority countries. So during this time, what ends up happening is Israel goes to war. This little country right here, this little green country right here, goes to war with its neighbors: Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, and there's a big war, and the United States sides with Israel. And so these countries, remember, these exporting countries here, the Middle East, these countries decide to stop selling oil to the United States. It's called an embargo. I think we talked about this term actually. And basically, an embargo is when a country decides to stop selling its products or its services to a country. So let me see if I can. Yep, I'm looking at your comments right now. So I think that's what I'll do, guys. I'll probably run my mouth for 3 or 4 minutes, then come back here and check and see if you guys have any questions. Okay, good. So when they decide to stop giving us oil, what do you think happens to the prices of oil in the United States? I can't remember what the numbers are, guys. I think we rely something on like 80% of our oil comes from other countries. A large portion of that comes from the Middle East. So if the Middle East, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So what ends up happening is gas prices in the U.S. don't just increase; they skyrocket. They go really, really high. Um, and as you know, think about right now. Um, people are scared that some people freaked out when they realized that grocery stores might not have enough supplies. And so I don't know if any of you have been to the grocery store right now, but if you try to go to the grocery store, one of the most precious items in the grocery store is toilet paper, right? And it's because everybody wants toilet paper because they think there's not enough. So same thing happens with oil. Um, People go to the gas stations, and as soon as they hear that the Middle East is no longer supplying oil to the United States, everybody hops in their car and they go to their local gas station. I'm curious, do you guys remember? I think this was like 2 or 3 years ago. Do you remember when that rumor went around here in Dallas and people were saying that we weren't going to have gas for the next few weeks? And I think I know I did. I hopped in my car immediately and went to a gas station and filled up. Um, and that's exactly what usually happens when there's a fear of shortages. So same thing kind of happened a couple of years ago. The issue with fear in the economy is that people will freak out and they'll soak up all the resources. So in this case, it's oil, and really it starts to harm our economy. So let's take a look at the. Hold on, let me find. Dun, dun, dun. Let me go back. I want to take a look at the document, the Google Docs that I have you guys doing today. So under, sorry guys, let me pull this up. Bear with me. Okay. Okay. No, that is not what I. Okay, here we go. So under that first section, if you guys have if you've got your Google Docs up, the first section says the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, right, was a group of oil-producing countries that were mostly Arab. Political unrest in the Middle East caused an increase in the price of oil. In 1973, OPEC imposed an oil embargo, a block on the U.S. for allying with Israel. So OPEC it's just a group of countries that basically most of their economy relies on exporting oil to different countries. And so they formed a group together called OPEC, and they worked together to basically control the supply and prices of oil around the world. So at this point, most of those countries were located in the Middle East. And in 1973, Israel went to war with the Middle East, and we sided with Israel, so they put an embargo on the United States. So what I'm going to do for the next 4 or 5 minutes, we'll do next 5 minutes. I'm going to let you guys answer those 3 questions. I will be monitoring chat, so if you guys have any questions, shoot them into chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. I'm looking at your comments right now. Oh, yeah, so I don't know. I think it happened. What's going on, Brian? How are you, buddy? Um, I think it was just in North Dallas when that when that oil shortage happened. I think it was in North Dallas. Maybe it happened in Houston. I don't know, but everybody freaked out because they didn't think there would be enough oil. Oh, wait. I think it was right after the hurricane in Houston, wasn't it? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to backtrack here. Okay. So if you've got your Google Documents up, we're working on the first section that says OPEC oil embargo, right? We're answering those 3 questions. I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to answer those. So while you're answering them, I'm going to review what we talked about, okay? And I'll go a little bit slower. I know I'm going pretty quickly here. So the video, yeah, okay. So I'm going to post the video. You should be able to see it through YouTube. I'll post the video, and you should be able to hear the audio. If you can't, let me know, and we'll figure it out, okay? But go ahead and fill in that first section. If you finish, go ahead and start on the second section. And then eventually when we get to economic recession, we'll watch the video, okay? Okay, so like I said, I'm going to quickly review what we've talked about. For anybody that's jumped in late or you're lost, I'll be very brief, and I'll try to make it as simple as possible, okay? So we talked about Nixon before we left for the break. One of Nixon's policies was détente, which was to ease tensions or improve relations between the Soviet Union and the U.S. However, Nixon is removed from office because of Watergate. It's a scandal where he hired some men to break into his rival's political campaign. He got caught, and then eventually he had to resign from office because Congress was going to impeach him. Okay, so now we've caught up on Nixon. After Nixon, we have President Carter. Okay, Jimmy Carter is his name. And when he gets into office, there's kind of a political crisis that happens. Israel, our ally, goes to war with several countries in the Middle East. So we help Israel, and as a result, what ends up happening is the countries in the Middle East, many of them produce oil, and they're part of an organization called OPEC. If you look here, it says the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. These countries decide to stop selling oil to the United States because we helped Israel during the war. And so they put on what is known as an embargo. It's a block of goods or supplies to another country. And so now what we're doing is we're answering the questions under OPEC, oil embargo. Some of you have finished the effects of oil embargo, and now you're waiting on the economic recession. So guys, give us just a couple minutes and then I'll put the video up, okay? See if you have any questions. Just need the video and the chart. Okay. We'll get to it. If you need the video and the chart, if you're still waiting on me to play the video and you finished everything else, go ahead and start on the independent work. You can knock that out. Guys, do you think it would be helpful if I was able to find another platform that would allow you to directly talk instead of typing? Or do you prefer just typing? Mm, okay. You prefer typing? It looks like some of us went. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll try to find something where you can either, if you want, you can talk or you can type. Pretty sure I can find something that'll give us both options, and you can choose whichever one you prefer. Okay. Are you talking about? Are you talking about the 4 questions and the right to learn? Let me pull this up. Hold on, guys. Bear with me, guys. This is the first time I've used YouTube Live. 6 weeks. Okay, here we go. All right. Yes, so I'm talking about the passage down below. So if you've finished everything and you're waiting on me to play the video, you can start on the Jimmy Carter Crisis of Confidence passage, and then the right to learn at the bottom. Okay, so before we move on, I'm going to quickly read this second passage here. It's under effects of the oil embargo. It's going to be on your Google Docs. It says the oil embargo by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, in the 1970s caused the cost of oil to skyrocket, which caused an energy crisis in the U.S. The United States was forced to reconsider its dependence on foreign energy resources. President Carter urged the development of alternative fuel sources. Today, American dependence on foreign oil remains a major problem. So question number 1 says, why did people have to wait in line to get gas? What was that fancy term we used when countries won't sell you a product of theirs? Oh, okay. So, yeah. Miss Nolan said that if you click on the Tools tab, you can click on a microphone that will type what you say. So it'll make it a lot easier. You won't have to type. You can just speak into your phone or your computer, and it'll automatically type out what you've said. Thank you, Miss Nolan. Okay, number 2 says, what action did President Carter urge Americans to take? So what is he asking Americans to do? What does he want Americans to do in order to help fix the issue with the economy? So we know that oil prices have gone up because OPEC. What is he urging Americans to do in order to avoid this in the future? So number 3, according to the passage, so if you'll look at the passage, this will help you answer number 3, is reliance on foreign oil still a problem today? Why or why not? So if you look at that passage, it'll tell you exactly whether or not we are still reliant on foreign oil. Yep. Somebody typed in that fancy word we were talking about earlier. Yes, it's an embargo, right? Why did people have to wait in line to get gas? Because there was an embargo on the United States. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play the video. Will you guys let me know if you can hear this, okay? So let me desktop audio. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play it, guys. Let me know if you cannot hear it, okay? At the beginning, it's going to kind of be silent, so.
Prices, it surged to 14%. In 1 year, the American economy had spun out of control. Gasoline prices had more than doubled. Mortgage rates pushed 20%. Unemployment kept on rising.
There are just so many forces at work. When inflation becomes rampant, interest rates are high, and the business cycle is turning against you, it becomes almost impossible.
Of all the problems facing the nation, most Americans now agreed inflation was the most urgent. In the summer of '79, fueled by rising oil prices, it surged to 14%.
Inflation makes you doubt the future. When you have inflation, you don't see as much building going on, you don't see as much investment going on, you don't see as much hiring going on. People weren't seeing their savings growing. And as a matter of fact, people were terrified that inflation would impoverish them in their old age.
Carter acted decisively. To reduce the budget deficit and bring inflation under control, he cut into social programs. New realities, explained the White House, must temper our nation's commitment to the poor.
It stirred up a hornet's nest of opposition from the Ted Kennedy people, from the traditional FDR coalition. They were very, very angry.
African American leaders felt betrayed and vowed to wage an all-out fight on what they called Carter's immoral, unjust, and inequitable budget cuts.
Okay, so as a result of this oil embargo, right, OPEC, or the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, many of these countries located in the Middle East, because of their embargo on the United States, we saw gas prices go up. What happened to the economy at the same time? Was the economy growing or was it shrinking? According to the video. So what ends up happening is the economy starts to shrink. We start to see a huge, deep effect on the economy. So basically what happens is, because there's no oil, because it's difficult to get oil and it's very expensive to get oil, the cost for transporting goods goes up. The cost for the goods that you buy from places like the grocery store or McDonald's, or even electronic prices, every price, basically goods, go up in the United States. And as a result, people aren't able to buy things. It starts to affect the economy. And what we see is something known as stagflation. So when you would go to the gas station, most gas stations would be empty. If you went to McDonald's, for example, and you wanted to get a dollar burger, that dollar burger was probably $4 or $5, just because now it's hard to get the products that you need to make the burger. And as a result, most products are more expensive. So this is known as stagflation, right? Stagflation is basically when you see economic decrease, right? The economy shrinks and inflation goes up, right? So you see economic growth going down, the economy shrinking, and inflation is going up. Do you guys remember what inflation is? Can somebody remind me? I have to remember you guys are on your phones. So inflation is basically when you print more money, and the more money you print, the less that money has, or the less value that money has, right? So that's what inflation is. So the federal government will print more and more money, and the more money they print, the faster they print it, the less value that money has. So let's take a look at this section. It says, in addition to the oil crisis, Jimmy Carter also had to deal with stagflation. Inflation, right? Money losing its value, interest rates going up, and unemployment soared, but economic growth decreased. These are the conditions for stagflation. So if you need to highlight that section right there, that's exactly what stagflation is. Increased inflation, increased interest rates, and high unemployment and economic decrease. Carter cut federal spending, but inflation did not come down until after his presidency was over. So we watched the video. Guys, if you need to see the video again, I think you should be able to go back into the stream and watch the video again. So I'm going to give us about 4 or 5 minutes to answer those questions, and then we'll rally back together and we'll answer them together. Okay. If you have any questions, you can post them. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Okay, guys, I'm going to give us about a minute more. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the third section, economic recession. So number one says, why did many people disagree with Carter's economic policies? So in the video, as a result of the United States going through stagflation, right? The economy is pretty stinky. There's high unemployment, high inflation, right? Because of this, Carter has to find a way to save money, and he has to basically cut social programs. So remember, we talked about Medicare, and we talked about Medicaid, and how those programs help economically disadvantaged, and they helped disabled people. So he had to cut back on a lot of those programs in order to save the U.S. money because the economy was so bad. So number one, why did many people disagree with Carter's economic policies? It was because he had to cut social programs, right? And number two, why is stagflation evidence of a bad economy? Why is stagflation evidence of a bad economy? So what happens during stagflation? You can find some of those in the passage above. Why is stagflation evidence of a bad economy? What happens to the economy when you see stagflation? Okay. So now that we have those three sections, right below it, there's an opinion question. It says, "Do you think Dallas is racially divided by neighborhoods?" So the problem during this economic crisis was that basically it really was the poor that were most affected during this time. When we talk about unemployment, we talk about companies having to cut jobs. Even usually when this happens, it's usually poor people that are most affected, right? It's lower end jobs that companies cut, and so it's usually the poor that take the highest hit, right? So what ends up happening is poor communities and poor neighborhoods are unequally affected by Jimmy Carter's programs, his slashing of social benefits, right? And so what ends up happening is a lot of minority communities are also affected. And so that was one of the criticisms that Carter receives at the time, is that him reducing the social programs in the United States kind of created an inequality in who's affected by those cuts, right? So under opinion question, make sure you get that opinion question. Then we're going to roll down to the boxes here. Inflation. There's two categories here. There's wages and prices, right? So we're talking specifically about stagflation. Remember that term, stagflation. So under stagflation, if you've got your documents, if you got your Google Docs, go ahead and pull it up and we'll do this chart together, okay? I'll give you just a moment. Make sure you've got that up real quick. I wonder if I can cast this on my, let me see if I can show. No, I don't know how to. There we go. Okay, so this is what I want us to look at right now. This box. No, it's still not showing. Really? Okay. So under wages, if we're talking about stagflation, the question is, what happens to inflation? Does it go up or does it go down under stagflation? And so under that box, I want you to write up, right? Up. So under stagflation, inflation goes up, right? Especially for wages. Wages go up, but inflation goes up. Under the next box for prices, prices go up as well, right? So under stagflation for wages, wages during stagflation go down, right? So if we're experiencing stagflation in the economy, you're going to see wages go down, and then under that box for stagflation, prices will also go up. So during stagflation, prices for goods go up and wages go down. I think you guys could see that, right? No. Okay, does anybody need me to go over that box again? Okay. 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 I'll go over it again. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can fix. Yes. Okay. See if I can fix what you guys are seeing. Okay, guys, you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm having trouble showing my my screen here, but I'll go over the box again. Okay, so under the box that says wages and prices, right? On the top left box that says inflation, the top left, right? Inflation will go up. So right up in the top left box, there's 4 boxes. In the very top left, I want you to write up, right? Does everybody have that? Okay. So top left box, right up. So if you look in the top right box, right, under prices, that top right box, it says inflation. Inflation will go up as well during stagflation. Okay. So in the bottom left box, it's a box that says stagflation. It's the bottom left. If we are thinking specifically about wages during stagflation, right? Wages go down during stagflation. So write down in that box. In the bottom left, it's going to be right next to stagflation. Write down. And then if you go directly to the right, in the bottom right corner, under stagflation, it's asking about prices. What happens to prices during stagflation? And prices go up. So I want you to write up in that bottom right box. Okay. All right. Before I move on, is everybody good? Do I need to hit that one more time? Do I need to go over that again? So we're looking on Google Docs, right? We're looking at the box that says wages and prices, right? It's got 2 categories and 4 boxes, okay? Okay, good, awesome. Okay, so from this part forward, this is independent work. I'm going to read the passage here, okay? And then I'll read the 4 questions, 5 questions. And then I'll be on here for basically until about 12 o'clock. So you'll have 30 minutes to ask me any questions that you need. If you have questions, general questions about kind of what this is going to look like as far as online platforms. If you have any concerns, if you're not sure how to reach me, now is your time to ask me any questions kind of about the process. You can also ask me questions about the independent work as well, okay? So let's go ahead and read this passage. So under Jimmy Carter, it says, "The threat is nearly invisible in ordinary ways. It is a crisis of confidence. It is a crisis that strikes at the very heart and soul and spirit of our national will. We can see this crisis in growing doubt about the meaning of our own lives and in the loss of unity of purpose for our nation. The symptoms of this crisis of the American spirit are all around us. For the first time in history of our country, a majority of people believe that the next 5 years will be worse than the past 5 years. 2/3 of our people do not even vote. The productivity of American workers is actually dropping, and the willingness of Americans to save for the future has fallen below that of all other people in the Western world. The erosion of our confidence in the future is threatening to destroy the social and the political fabric of America." So question number 1 says, what is the title of this excerpt? Question number 2, what is an example of one event during the 1970s in U.S. history that could have caused Americans to have a crisis of confidence? Think back to what we talked about at the beginning of this lecture. What event caused the U.S. economy to start shrinking? Number 3, according to the excerpt, why does President Carter think Americans are suffering from a crisis of confidence? Number 4, according to President Carter, what will happen if the crisis of confidence is not resolved? Number 3, that's the same question. So go ahead, guys, if you will. At the very bottom, there is another number 3. Just strike that out. You can go ahead and delete that. It's the same question. And then don't forget your right to learn. Give me 3 to 5 sentences, okay? That is it, guys. You guys were awesome today. I know that this was not ideal. Obviously, this is kind of this is something we're all having to deal with, and that includes old Mr. Feltz as well. Okay, so I'm gonna try to figure out another platform that we can use, one where you guys can have, you can easily sign in with your Google Chromebook. And at the same time, for those of you who want, you don't have to, but those of you who want, you can use your microphone and ask questions, and you won't have to type. I'll try to find something where you can either type or you can ask me directly through the mic, okay? Other than that, I'm going to be here for about the next 30 minutes. If you have questions or need something, let me know. I'll be looking at live chat. You guys have my email address, right? I'm going to put it in chat real quick. DallasISD.org. Shoot me an email, or you can message me on Edmodo as well. Friday, I am going to have like a 30-minute window. Actually, I'm changing that. I'm going to be available for about an hour. I'll probably do it through YouTube Live, but I might send out a message if I can find a program before then that we can use. But I will be available live one way or another, so you can pop in and ask me any questions you had. Yes, it will. Thank you for asking, Ms. Nolan. What I'm going to do is right after I end the stream, I'm going to upload those videos directly to YouTube. So you guys will have access to this lecture, and you can look over it if you need any help. Additionally, if you are working on the independent practice after this and you get stuck, again, feel free to email me. Don't hesitate to reach out so that I can make sure that you get any help you need, okay? I am actually going to step away for just a couple of minutes while you guys work. Oh, you need the do now. Give me 1 minute, and then I'll come back and we can go over that together, okay? All right, guys. So I'm here. If you're done, if you don't need any help, feel free to go ahead and you can bounce out. So we're done today. I'll be here again until about 12 p.m. So if you have any questions or need any help, just write it in chat, and I'm more than willing to walk you through any clarifications that you need. Okay. Oh, let's see. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your question, Isabella. What is number 3 for the effects of the oil embargo? Let me pull up the. I know it's still a major problem, but why? So okay, so let's look at it. Let's see, number 3. Okay, so you're talking about the effects of the oil embargo. Number 3 says, is reliance on foreign oil still a problem today? Why or why not? So right, if we look at the paragraph, I'm going to reread it, and there's a specific sentence in there that will give you that answer. So it says the oil embargo by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, in the 1970s caused the cost of oil to skyrocket, which caused an energy crisis in the U.S. The United States was forced to reconsider its dependence on foreign oil. President Carter urged the development of alternative fuel sources. Today, American dependence on foreign oil remains a major problem. So you're confused over that last part of the question. You know exactly that today it's still an issue, but you're not sure why. The sentence above that, if you look at the sentence above that, it says President Carter urged the development of alternative fuel sources. So when we think about fuel, or we think about energy today in general, what's the one source of energy that we still rely on today? And that's oil, right? The reason it's still a problem today is because, unlike President Carter, we're still very much dependent on oil, and much of that oil comes from countries outside of the United States. So, for example, if we decided to invest in solar or invest in wind energy or something like that, much of that energy could be produced in the United States, and we wouldn't have to rely on other countries for it. Does that make sense? Yeah, so Anderson, that's basically it, right? So it's because, we need fuel sources, and if Americans run out, we depend on other countries, right? So let me make a couple notes here. So you guys couldn't access YouTube Live through Chromebooks. Okay. Had to use cell phones to do YouTube Live. Okay, so while I have some of you still in here, did everybody access Google Classrooms? Did you have any issues getting either the classroom codes or access, or did anybody have any problems as far as signing up or anything like that? Okay, fantastic. So I know this assignment says that it's due on Wednesday this week because we're still getting things together and figuring everything out. That assignment's actually going to be due on Friday, okay? However, if you will just knock it out, I know most of you I think you've gotten most of it done already, but if you'll go ahead and just knock it out today, you won't have to worry about it for the rest of the week. So be on the lookout for an Edmodo update. I'll figure out a way for us to be able to access these videos without you having to use your phones, okay? I'll have something posted before Friday. All right, guys, like I said, you're more than welcome to go ahead and leave. You're more than welcome to stay if you want as well, but you guys are free to go, all right? I'll be in here for about another 15 more minutes to answer any questions that you have. If you guys would like, I'll go ahead and play the video one more time. I don't know if any of you need it, but I'm going to play it once more just in case you're missing one of those questions for the last section. Here we go. So here it goes, guys.
In 1 year, the American economy had spun out of control. Gasoline prices had more than doubled. Mortgage rates pushed 20%. Unemployment kept on rising.
There are just so many forces at work. When inflation becomes rampant, interest rates are high, and the business cycle is turning against you, it becomes almost impossible.
Of all the problems facing the nation, most Americans now agreed inflation was the most urgent. In the summer of '79, fueled by rising oil prices, it surged to 14%.
Inflation makes you doubt the future. When you have inflation, you don't see as much building going on, you don't see as much investment going on, you don't see as much hiring going on. People weren't seeing their savings growing. And as a matter of fact, people were terrified that inflation would impoverish them in their old age.
Carter acted decisively. To reduce the budget deficit and bring inflation under control, he cut into social programs. New realities, explained the White House, must temper our nation's commitment to the poor.
It stirred up a hornet's nest of opposition from the Ted Kennedy people, from the traditional FDR coalition. They were very, very angry.
African American leaders felt betrayed and vowed to wage an all-out fight on what they called Carter's immoral, unjust, and inequitable budget cuts.
Hey guys, if you don't want to message the entire group here, you can shoot me a message on Edmodo if you have any questions over the work. Okay. I don't mind answering those questions through Edmodo either. So somebody just asked me if we're doing Carter and Reagan today. No, we're just doing Carter. That's it. So once you're finished with your work, just make sure you submit it in Google Classrooms, and you guys should be good. All right, guys. I think that's it. I don't see any other questions. Seems like you guys are more or less finished with the work. So um, I'm gonna linger for about 5 more minutes. So if you need anything, tax breaks. Yeah. So okay, great question. So tax breaks are basically like, there are laws in the tax code that basically allow people to to not pay taxes for specific things. So a tax break would be like reducing the percentage or the amount of taxes that people pay. I think that's the simplest way to put it. So for example, if the rich pay 40%, a tax break would mean that the rich instead would pay 30%, something less. Okay. No, I just I didn't realize you'd sent me any. I see it now. So okay. Let him know. Let him know that I'll message you. All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and cut the stream. If you have any other questions, again, I'm gonna write my email here, or you can message me on Edmodo. I hope you guys enjoyed your spring break. Please, please, please be safe. I hope you and your household have have been limiting your contact to the outside world. Make sure you guys are washing your hands. Don't touch your faces, and just make sure you cover any coughs that you have. All right. So if you need anything between now and next Monday, please don't hesitate to reach out. All right, guys. So I will talk to you later. See you Monday, and enjoy the rest of your week. Okay. We're gonna get through this. All right. I know that there's been a lot of changes, but promise you, we'll get all the issues worked out here between programs and technical problems. Okay. All right. Bye, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you on Monday.